Hello everyone, Ted the old Star Wars nerd here, and today on Star Wars Classic I want to talk about my memories of when The Empire Strikes Back was released. Now, let's see, I was 10 in May 21st, 1980 when Empire was released. And after Star Wars came out, of course everyone wanted a sequel. And it was announced in late 1978 that a sequel would actually be coming. So in the years between 1977 and 1980, Star Wars was released a few different times, and I went and saw it at least once each time. I can remember the time it was released for the first time with the Empire previews at the end of it. We all decided we would go to the drive-in to see this movie called Piranha. But when we got there, I found out that Star Wars was playing on the screen behind us. Now, when you get to a drive-in, it's a huge area. You pull into your big parking lot. You pull in, you find your spot. You park next to a pole. The pole's got two speakers on it, one for you, one for the car on the other side. And on the other side of the car, there's another pole. So on the passenger side, there's a pole. On the driver's side, there's a pole. Speakers. And that's how you got the sound inside your car when you went to a drive-in. So we pulled in there, and the lots are kind of aimed. They're kind of angled, so you're facing up, and you can see the screen a little bit better. And like I say, Star Wars was playing on the screen behind me. Now, I couldn't hear anything, but of course I didn't need to. I'd seen it enough times. I could make up my own sound effects, and I enjoyed it just as well. And at the end of it, afterwards, they showed the previews for Empire, and it just looked amazing. If you go look it up now, it's the preview that is 2 minutes long and narrated by Harrison Ford. I watched that and I said, yeah, that's what I remember. It was really cool. And I'll link it below. Like I said, I couldn't hear it at the time, but it didn't matter. And like next weekend, my aunt took me to see Star Wars, and so of course we stayed behind, and I got to watch it and hear the sound and see everything in the real theater. And the things I remember about it went by pretty quickly. And I remember R2 rolling through Bespin's. Really, about the only clear memory I have from that day of sitting in the back of the truck watching Star Wars at the drive-in. I remember R2 rolling through Bespin, and that was so cool. And so then time passes, and it's getting closer to release date. Now, my mom takes me with her to the grocery store each week to go grocery shopping, and I wander around the store, read books, magazines, play video games, whatever I can find inside the store to do, stay out of trouble. And we're in line to leave, and I'm looking through the magazines and things on the rack there by the cash register, and I remember I noticed something that had star on the top of it. It looked like the Star Wars font, So of course I picked it up, and it said Star Wars: The Empire Strikes Back, and it was the paperback novel for the movie. Come to find out, if you look it up, the paperback book was released on April 12th, 1980, which was about a month before Empire was released in theaters. Now, of course, I grabbed it. My mom bought it for me, and I read it all that night, and probably the next day and next few days. I encourage everyone to read it. It's a really good book. Things I remember about it were one, Yoda, talking about Yoda in it, and the image I got of a little frog man. But of course, I guess that's what Yoda is. So, job done. The other thing was Luke going into the dark side cave, and how it described him going through the underneath of it, and the little swampy things that are falling on him, and the bugs, and I just remember how creepy it sounded. And then his confrontation with Vader, which is a little different in the book than it is in the movie. Like I say, go read it, go find out. And then of course you get to the duel and the big reveal, and then his fall, and then the end of the book. And so of course the book had it all in there. And like I say, it was out a month before the movie. So the spoiler of Vader being Luke's father was released to the general public a month before the movie was released. Now, can you imagine something like that happening these days? That'd be just crazy. And to this day, I haven't met anybody that knows that yet, or that can remember that happening, that knew that happened. If you know of anybody, please let me know. Tell me their story. I'd love to hear it. So we get to the time when the movie's released, okay? And went to the same theater that I'd seen Star Wars at, the Ridgely Theater in Fort Worth, Camp Bowie Boulevard. And I remember the line was all the way down the block to get in. I know it wasn't opening weekend we went. It was probably a weekend or two later, but still, it's just lines all down the block to get in on the weekends. And so we get in there, and I remember sitting on the floor, or sitting on the ground. They're not on the floor or ground, but sitting on the lower part, and so we could be closer to the screen and look up at it and just see everything, and it was going to be great. So I remember being in there and the lights going down, and the anticipation just building, and then of course the big fanfare, and Star Wars comes up, and the Empire Strikes Back, and the crawl happens, the opening of the movie, and then you see the probe droid going down, and the movie started, and I got to see the movie that I'd already read about and seen the movie of in my head, and of course the one on the screen was just so much better. Yoda was great, the duel at Bespin, Han and Carbonite, and then Luke loses his hand, and it was just, like I say, it was great. I really enjoyed it, and still the Battle of Hoth is my favorite battle. And then on Christmas, my birthday, all I got was Star Wars toys. From then on, I got most of the figures. I got a speeder, I got a Tauntaun, I got the Cloud City Cloud Car, and the other toys. Got an AT-AT, and I know saying AT-AT triggers some of the kids these days. They don't like that at all. But hey, you can blame Kenner for that, because you go watch those original Kenner commercials that were shown back in the day, and they called it the AT-AT Walker. It says it like 4 different times in that commercial. The AT-AT this and the AT-AT that. So blame Kenner. Sorry. I'm not changing. And yes, the ATST is an ATST. It's not an ATST or any of the other weird things like that. I don't get that weird with it. Like I say, blame Kenner. Well, one of the few things from Empire that I have left, it was my favorite book at the time. It was this collector's edition of The Empire Strikes Back. Sorry about that. But it has story in it, has artwork, has making of, all kinds of things inside this. And I went through this book, I don't know how many times, almost memorized it. You can see in here it's got all kinds of information about the movie. There's some of the artwork, and that's where it starts the story of the movie. And this is how you relived it back in the day. Didn't have a VCR. They were available, I think, I don't know, might have been back in 1980, but if so, I didn't have one. We were years from ever having anything like that. So this is how I relived it. Go through it. Some of the artwork. Creepy probe droid. Then you get to Yoda and the bounty hunters in Cloud City, and then it gets to the end, and then it has talk about the ending, and it has a little twist in here about the movie in it, but I'll leave that for another video. So there's some clickbait for you. So then it talks about coming up with the script. There's George Lucas in the middle of the swamp. I would study these things and read about the makings of and early color development for Lando, early AT-AT. One thing, Carrie Fisher making Dagobah. But this right here is what blew my mind at 10 years old. At 10 years old, I saw that they built a real Millennium Falcon. They built a full-size Millennium Falcon for The Empire Strikes Back. And that just, that was crazy to me at the time. They actually had one you could actually go and walk in. Now, outside they had built the X-Wings, but those are kind of small. That's not a big thing. But a full-size Falcon, that was something. So I studied that and how they made it, and always wish there was more. Models for that AT-ATs, Tauntaun, and that's it. Anyway, Like I say, that's my favorite magazine. I've gone over and over and over that thing. So that's really my memories of Empire at the time. It was a good time. It was a great time. Great movie. Some people may say that when Empire came out, that it wasn't liked. That's not true. That's not true at all. The Empire Strikes Back, when it was released, was a great movie, and everybody said how great it was. Every Star Wars fan said that. Don't read the critic reviews. Critic reviews are crap. You look at the people's reviews. Every Star Wars fan loved it. Don't let them rewrite history and say that nobody liked Empire Strikes Back when it was released. Please. So there's my memories of Empire. Thank you very much for watching this. If you like this video and would like some more, I do other videos on the audiobooks. Star Wars Legends audiobooks from the old expanded universe. I've done a few so far. Just finished Revan the other day. I'm working on a new one called Deceived. Hope to have it finished soon. So go check those out, please. And also leave a comment down below. Click the like button. Click the bell for notifications when I put out new videos. Click the subscribe button. Keep subscribed to me. And like I say, I really appreciate everything. My name's Ted. Thanks for watching. Take care.